Estamos aqui agora com o Pav Grochola. Homem Aranha no Aranhaverso aconteceu porque esse cara estava ali supervisionando toda a produção de efeitos visuais, então é uma honra ter ele aqui. It's an honor to have you here. As a VFX artist, what's the difference between working in an animation and a live action feature?
Oh, okay. So when you're working on an animated feature, the cool thing about it is that you get to see the whole world being created, right? Because we're creating the whole film. So usually, I work for Sony Pictures ImageWorks, and we get the whole project, and we do the whole project from start to finish. So it's really cool that you can get to see the film being made. You see all the models being made, the environments, and then you start seeing it being textured, and then lit, and then animated, and then you see the whole process, and from start to finish, which is really fun. It takes a long time. Like on Spider-Verse, it was like 2 years. I was on the show for 2 years. I was one of the first people that joined. The difference between animated and feature film is that feature film, generally you're doing more short pieces within a film. So really big blockbusters, like I don't know, all the Marvel films. There's a lot of studios that work on those, visual effects studios. So ImageWorks might just get one small part of that film, and then we do that, or they might get a slightly bigger section, but we certainly don't do the whole thing because it's too big for any one company to take on.
Oh, okay.
I think the other difference is generally the kind of work that you're doing for live action is much more complicated, but it depends. On Spider-Verse, we did some pretty complicated stuff, so it wasn't exactly an easy show. But for the most part, the kinds of simulations that you're running, particularly in effects, because I'm an effects supervisor, the kinds of simulations you're running on a live action show are much more complicated.
Yeah, I can imagine. This was not your first time working in a Marvel production. So, what's the difference of working in something with this huge fandom?
Oh,
You have a huge responsibility, I guess. How do you manage the weight?
You know what's really funny is that a lot of people, because they're fans of this stuff, they put themselves in the position of someone like me that's working on it.
Yes.
And they think if
I
I was working on that, I'd be
crazy.
freaked out, right?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a secret.
Yeah.
I'm not actually a fan of fiction.
Oh. This answers everything.
I know,
yeah.
it's right. What I actually really enjoy is problem solving, technical problem solving. I love hard challenges, and I love kind of getting a really hard problem and try and figure it out in 3D. And I also love making tools, for other artists to use. I'm not really the whole Spider-Man superhero thing. Maybe I'm going to get fired after this interview for saying this. So this isn't going online, right?
Yeah, it is, but but that's fine. It's
fine.
It's probably something that takes a lot of you, and probably might be fun having some fans telling you what to do.
That's the cool part about it, right? Me sitting here doing this interview is insane. It's I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I'm in Brazil. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So that's the good part about it, is that you a lot of people, when they say what they do for a job, they don't get the kind of reaction I get, right?
Definitely.
So
you're talking about the huge industry and the huge blockbuster movies around there, and Spider-Verse is unique. And that follows to my next question. How did you do it, mixing some 3D animation with some traditional way of animating a movie? Was that something that you choose to do for aesthetics or technical ways? So
before I joined the show, the whole idea about doing a film that looked like a comic book was invented.
That was the idea.
That was the point of the whole film.
Yes.
And so Chris Miller and Philip Lord, they're the ones that originally had this idea to do an animated Spider-Man film. We haven't done that before, so that was their idea. And then they came on board and they said, look, we want to do it different. We don't want to do a regular CG animated film. We want it to look like a comic book. And when I came on board, I was one of the first artists at ImageWorks to start. I was lucky enough to see the real commitment there was to making sure that happened. Right from the beginning, everyone was like, nah, it's got to look like a comic book. It's got to look like a comic book. And they stuck to it. And that's why it turned out that way.
We appreciate you for that, definitely. Because
it's not just, I got to say, I'm super lucky to be here, but there was 800 people that worked on that film. So I am just a very small part of, I just played a very small role. It's all those other people that poured their heart and soul.
So technology in VFX are moving forward like in a amazing way. Do you think the future of these movies is gonna be like Spider-Verse will see like something it's from decades ago, like other movies? Because I don't know, I was watching Dark Knight yesterday on the TV, and the way I was impressed by that 10 years ago, and seeing that now is really different. So what do you think is
I
the
have
future?
absolutely no doubt, and I really hope that we look back in Spider-Verse and we say to ourselves, wow, we didn't push it far enough.
Damn!
I hope that that's the case,
that's
right?
crazy to think about
Because
it.
that means that all the stuff that's going to happen since Spider-Verse is going to be even cooler.
I hope so. I love the movie. I gotta say, it's an honor to talk to you about it. Have a great event.
Thank you very much.
You for being here. So we're here with Julian Bobach. It's like that. That's the better way to pronounce it.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good. Man, you made a huge movie like Lion King. You were like in the front of the project, supervising the lighting process in the movie, which is a very difficult stuff to do in a movie that tries to be as real as possible. So, do you think it's a huge step in your career, like as a filmmaker? Like, what changes in your career after the movie?
Well, first of all, I was a CG, as you said, lighting supervisor and CG supervisor on the movie, and after that, I actually ended up being a VFX supervisor. So that was a huge step. So that was great, but it also like a big learning curve as well, because it's not every day that you do this kind of project. So you can see, how a team of 1,200 people produced 1,500 shots in 2 years. So that was very interesting to be part of it and to be. To experience it.
Yeah, definitely. And people reference of Lion King as a live-action movie, even with the huge animation process involving the making of it. So what's your part on that?
I think it's more like the way people want to define the movie as. It's if you would say it's an animation movie, people would expect it, to be a bit more cartoonish, for example, or, have more like what animation features do very well, be a bit more exaggerated, and for good reasons. Like animation has been here for a long, long time, and it's a good way of telling stories. So I think the label live action was just not to fool people. In the sense that it was not going to be just the 3D version of the original cartoon, but more like a real version of it in a way, with trying to be as real as possible.
Yeah, and that I think that was a huge challenge, because you have to make something real and like preserve the expressivity of the characters. So what was that in the movie? Because in the animation you have like characters that are always shiny and being like an animation movie, and then you need to preserve this realism in the movie and still has some drama in the characters.
Well, I think we had a few things to help us with. First, we had a lot of references from real animals, and then we had a huge library of footage that either we shot in Africa, or we shot in Animal Kingdom Zoo in the US. So that was trying to capture all the subtleties of real animals.
I'm curious about it, because you need to make the light of the animals, and you have like a reference in the real world, but you don't have like the actual structure. So
well, to do the lighting, what we did is like we captured the light like skies, to actually capture the different energy of the sun, the clouds. For example, those lights that we have here, they have a certain energy. The clouds have a certain energy. So we capture all this in Africa, and we brought like hundreds of panoramas and 360s.
Oh yeah.
That captures the right energy of each light. That was the interesting part of this movie as well, is like, you know, you have all the virtual production system, which was like trying to replicate a real set, but in the computer. But we used a lot of those techniques further down the line, and in lighting, for example, using real bounce cards or reflectors that they would use on real set to kind of like light people or characters when they are too dark. And we use those techniques as well to really shape the characters and give a story to the lighting and what we wanted the audience to look at.
Yeah, and you made an amazing job on that. Like, congratulations. What do you think is the future of the movie industry after that? Because you can do almost everything. It's almost a God's work, you know?
I think what the trend we see right now is that we see production and post-production, which is the VFX work, to actually start to merge together. So virtual production is part of it, where you can actually start shooting directly in the computer rather than rely on the VFX to be done later down the line. But it's still pretty rough, and it's still pretty, it doesn't look real yet, but I think we're gonna end up with that trend of getting closer and closer to real images that looks real in real time. And we can start getting VFX work to be done almost simultaneously with shooting a real movie. So that's an interesting trend.
Crazy. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I appreciate your time. And congratulations on your work, and enjoy Rio, enjoy São Paulo. We'll see.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.